If you judge others, you're judging yourself. You've probably heard something to that effect, or probably more likely you've heard the negative stuff that you see in others is what you see in yourself. Or when you see negative in others, you're reflecting what's within you. You've probably heard something to that effect before. Well, it's true. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in this video. As a precipice to that, I want to say a little bit about whatever you're focused on is what you'll see. And so I had a little encounter with a family member this weekend, and they were talking bad about another family member, and I allowed myself to get sucked into that a little bit, which I'm kind of mad at myself for, but it didn't really escalate, so that was good. But anyways, this person was just focused on the negative on this other person, and also past stuff that, and that without really considering have people changed over the years and so on and so forth. And this same family member and a few others can't be around each other because they won't give either one an inch, because all they're focused on is the negative. They're polarized to whatever they see wrong in the other person. Now that brings us back to, well, what you see wrong in another person is something within you that you don't like, that you're seeing reflected back to you that way. And yeah, probably not consciously, but subconsciously, you know that you're the same way in many ways. And that's an important thing and an important milestone in your life when you can start recognizing that. Now, and I am by no means suggesting that I am perfect at this. We all do this to a certain degree, but I recognize it now in my own life, and I often catch myself before it escalates. And that's a good thing. And I don't do it near as much now because of that. And the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because this type of judgment seems to be escalating in our society. Folks, I believe that we are actually on the cusp of a golden age, my friends. Yeah, I know that sounds kind of crazy with all the stuff that's going on right now. However, if we're going to have that golden age, we need to address these issues within our personalities and the way we look at things. Now, if you're polarized too far one way or the other, then you have a skewed view of things, okay? If you're polarized on the negative and all you see is the negative in somebody, you're not going to be able to see anything good about that person. So, and some people will say, well, some people don't have anything good about them. Well, there might be a few people like that, but for the most part, most people have good and bad in them. All of us do, my friends. And the sooner that you recognize that, the sooner that we can come closer to the center and get along with each other a lot better. I probably shouldn't use this as an example, but I'm going to use President Donald Trump as the example. The media has just done nothing but try to focus on every negative thing, and they've even made up a lot of stuff about him to get people to polarize to the negative towards him, and that has served to polarize his supporters also the other direction. And so we have a skewed view on both sides, because he's not a perfect man, but he has done a lot of good for this country. But if you listen to a lot of the legacy media, the man is, he's first cousin to the devil. Anyways, I'm not going to get too far on that, but I'm just using that because it's a very popular example, especially with what's happened recently with the sad events of our country in this last week. Most importantly, this carries over into our relationships with our family members, loved ones, friends, business associates, and acquaintances. We need to get over this crap, my friends. We need to get over it. If we're going to have a golden age, we need to start seeing people in their fullest and highest potential, despite what their actions are at the moment, and to look for the good in all things. I did a video, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago or longer, of a family member who that person and I wouldn't even speak. It seemed like there would be no way to heal this rift. But following the teachings of Neville Goddard, I was able to heal that rift, and I didn't even have to talk to the person. All I did was I focused for a couple of months on the good in that person, because that person was a good person and had some good traits about them, even though we couldn't get along. And after a few months where we couldn't even speak, the person came up, the first time we'd seen each other in a while, came up and hugged me like nothing had ever happened, and it's never come up again. And I'll post that video in the link in the description for you to check out if you want to, where I give more details on all of that. If we can see each other in our highest potential, if we can look past the faults and remember that we have the same faults. It's like if you've ever driven on a public highway and you're, pissing and moaning about the stupid drivers and what they do. And I rarely do that anymore. I still do sometimes, but I catch myself now because I always think, yeah, I've done the same thing to people, so why am I bitching and moaning at this person? And it's not that important. It's like, in the grand scheme of things, you think that's going to matter? When you die and you get on the other side, you think anybody's going to care about that? We only care about it here, where emotions run high and where we're all caught up in the personality that we identify with and what's in our perception of right and wrong and what's supposed to happen. Folks, you need to let people be who they are, even if you don't agree with them. Now, if somebody's so totally annoying you don't want to be around them, that's fine, but you don't have to condemn them. And if they're a family member, you can still love them anyways, even if from a distance. I firmly believe that our true essence is love. Love is the glue that holds the universe together. You've heard me talk about this. I think that we are a subset. Physical reality is a subset of a greater reality. That greater reality that holds everything together, including our physical reality, is love. And that's what we're here to find out, who and what we are, which is love. And stopping judging others is one of the ways that we express that love. It comes from within, okay? And there's a scripture that says, judge not, or you will be judged by the same judgment with which you judge, okay? So a lot of people read that to mean, well, I don't want to judge because I don't want to be judged by God, and go to hell. But that's not what it means. What it means is you're judging yourself, like I said in the beginning of this video. When you judge somebody else, you're judging yourself. You're judging all of those traits are within you. And if you can really be honest with yourself, and it's not always easy, you have those same traits that you're judging that person for. Now, that's a tough one for a lot of people to wrap their minds around. It was tough for me, and I still catch myself doing it sometimes, like I said. But once you're aware of it and become aware of it, you do it a lot less, and you catch yourself so that things don't escalate. Is it really worth destroying relationships because you're just hyper-focused on some trait or traits of somebody that you think are unacceptable or very negative or what have you, or you think that they did something to you and so on and so forth? Everybody has their perception. I know this. I went through a divorce after 30 years of marriage, and my ex has her perception, and my kids have tried to tell me sometimes, Mom thinks this, blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't care. That's fine. She can have her perceptions. I don't have any animosity towards her, and I tell them that because I don't. I did at first, like most breakups do, somewhat, but I don't anymore. I've let that all go because my divorce was one of the best things that ever happened to me. We both needed to move on in different directions, and it was fine. But we get so comfortable in a situation, even if it's not the best situation, which, of course, I didn't think my marriage was that bad, but apparently she did. So perception is everything, you see. And I tend to think it's because she was focused on my negative aspects and not on my good aspects. It's that simple. And people do that. And I'm not judging her again for that either, because I've done that with people too. So I think this is an important message for people. This type of judgment is the cause of a lot of class distinction, where people look down on other people. It's the cause of a lot of strife. It's a cultural norm in our culture, unfortunately. You could probably say I'm a little focused on the negative here. And I'm not trying to be, but you see how easy it is to fall into that. I do believe that people are changing, that people are waking up, and that we're moving forward in a more positive direction, albeit it's slower than I would like and a lot of people would like, but it's happening. And everybody's at different degrees of their awakening, so to speak, which is why we need to not judge them. Newly awakened people have a tendency to judge others, and they don't even realize it sometimes, that they're looking down on people who aren't awake. Oh, I'm awake. Well, and they think awakening is an event, And it's not, it's an ongoing process. But we have these milestones. It seems like, oh, I woke up from this dream. But you'll do it again. You'll have another awakening, which I've done several times now. And the first one is usually the scariest one because, like, your whole paradigm crumbles, your whole world view falls apart. Everything that was anchors in your life and your identity have gone. People leave religion, they leave relationships and marriages and, jobs and so on because of it. And so it can be scary. The first one's always the toughest, but then after that, it gets easier. And after you've done about 3 or 4, it's like, okay, when's the next one? So still, it's not always that easy because the later ones are the ones that are really entrenched and they're in your subconscious, and you may not even remember any of it consciously until it bubbles up because it's time to address it. Deep-seated angers. A few videos back, I talked about an epiphany I had after I got a blood clot in my leg and had a crisis and realized that I had been in resistance to life most of my life. I've always wanted to be somewhere else, doing something else with somebody else, that kind of thing. Instead, and it made me sad because it's like, how much life did I miss because I wasn't living in the moment and enjoying the moment as much as I could. I was always looking to be somewhere else or do something else or wishing I had done something different in the past and so on. So anyways, moral of the story, don't judge others, folks. Or if you catch yourself doing that, look within and go, okay, I don't like that. Where have I had those traits, And your first reaction by the ego will be, well, you don't have those traits. That's why you're judging. Well, that's not true. If you look and pay attention and persist, you will see that you've had that trait somewhere. Might not have been the exact same thing they did, but it was the same principle or trait that you used one way or another. So I went to a Dr. DeMartini seminar, and he did this with people. He did this exercise with people. The point is we all have those traits on some level, some degree or another. At first, people were taken aback, because he's just straight out. Anyways, my friends, I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you're all having a great day, evening, afternoon, wherever you're at. Peace out, my friends.